We'd like to know where our competitor is getting his munitions.
Meaning it's untraceable.
Get down! You don't destroy something that's been around for 1,000 years.
He broke the code. They were just the decoys. Goodbye, Mr. X.
The movie opens up in Chicago. Wesley Gibson is woken up by his girlfriend, who yells at him, demanding that he find another apartment because she can't sleep there near the subway. The young man works as an ordinary office clerk and suffers from panic attacks, which he suppresses with medicines. However, the medications he takes have side effects, but he doesn't care about anything, not even the fact that his girlfriend is regularly cheating on him with his friend Barry. Wesley still can't gather himself up to speak his mind out to them. His boss always hammers him for being too slow at work. Wesley suffers from an existential crisis, permanently thinking about why his father abandoned their family, which happened shortly after his birth. When the boss starts yelling at him because of the report, Wesley feels a panic attack so severe that his heart is beating at a frantic pace, and his whole environment seems to be slowing down. After the boss leaves, Wesley takes a handful of sedative drugs. Wesley's father, Mr. X, turns up at a building to speak with a woman about tracing a bullet. The woman is shocked to see him, but he tells her if he wanted her dead, she would be. As she is checking the bullet out, she is killed by a sniper from another building. Mr. X runs down the hallway, he turns and activates a strange ability and then takes off running at super speed, jumping across to the other building. Mid-air he kills the men on the roof, even bending a bullet. He then gets a call from an ex-assassin named Cross, who reveals that Mr. X is right where he wants him before he's killed by a headshot. Later, Wesley attempts to withdraw some cash, but he finds that his account is almost empty. He walks into a store for another batch of sedatives, however, he's unaware that there's a strange man watching him. A woman named Fox suddenly appears in front of him. Wesley is uncomfortable with her pushy manners but says she knew his father as the greatest assassin to ever live, and he was killed by the man behind him. Fox takes out the Colt and begins to open fire on Cross. The gunfight breaks out in the store. Wesley is overwhelmed by a panic attack. He tries to escape, but the strange girl holds him back. Cross tries to catch him in the van, but the girl carefully gets Wesley into her red Ferrari. The girl leans out of the windshield and fires at the van. Wesley drives the car while Fox uses her right foot to help turn it. Cross fires at them as a police squad blocks the street, but having assessed the situation quickly, Fox jumps behind the wheel and makes the Ferrari skid. The wheels hit the drain, and the car flips, landing on the bus. Shortly thereafter, they resume their tour of Night City, but that was too much for Wesley, and he faints. Wesley wakes up in an unknown building, where he encounters a few men supervised by Mr. Sloan, who immediately orders him to shoot the wings off some flies nearby. Wesley thinks he is crazy until a gun rests on the back of his head, and a man warns him to do it. A panic attack makes Wesley's reaction so quick that he can track the movement of the fly's wings. After firing 6 bullets, Wesley rushes to take his medicine, but the leader stops him and shows him the flies with their wings shot off. He throws away his meds and says his heart was beating at 400 beats per minute. His pituitary gland spilled a huge amount of hormones into his bloodstream, which made the reaction several times quicker. Wesley pulls a gun on Mr. Sloan, telling him that he is crazy, but is reminded that crazy is having the blood of a killer in his veins and wasting his life. He introduces the team as the Fraternity of Assassins, stating that his father was their greatest killer. He gives him an opportunity to avenge his father and kill Cross. He tells him that the gun that is being held belonged to his father. He could conduct a symphony orchestra with it. And they transferred all his father's money to Wesley's account. The next morning, Wesley wakes up thinking that what has happened was just a dream. But in the bathroom, he's forced to come to his senses by a gun that fell out of his pocket. He hides the gun in the toilet tank. Wesley goes to the nearest ATM and finds out that there are more than $3.5 million in his account. At work, Wesley studies articles about the murder of his father on the roof of a skyscraper. Suddenly, the boss arrives and scolds him once more, insisting that the report is still not ready. She threatens to destroy his career, but Wesley responds sharply, leaving the entire office in shock. He then picks up his keyboard and smacks his best friend across the face for sleeping with his girlfriend before marching out. Exhilarated, he leaves the building and sees newspapers with the articles about his yesterday's adventure in the store. Fox picks him up, and he happily jumps into her car. Fox takes him back to the fraternity's secret base, which appears to be a textile factory. Wesley doesn't want to go back to his old life, and Sloan puts Fox in charge of training him. When the training begins, they tie him to a chair and start to beat him. He doesn't understand what they want from him and just says that it's certainly not to be beaten in the face. Then the battered Wesley is brought before a butcher who tries to train him in knife fighting. They don't spare Wesley at all, and he gets seriously injured. He wakes up in a bath full of paraffin while a Russian guy nicknamed Exterminator is working on his recovery and says that these are special regeneration baths. To alleviate his suffering, the Russian gives Wesley vodka, and firearms training also takes place in an unusual way. He believes it's impossible to curve a bullet, but Sloan steps in and demonstrates the technique. Now it's time for his first assignment. Sloan leads him to the room and gets the name of his first target. Fox is accompanying him on this mission. Riding on the train roof, they approach the target, but Wesley fails to pull the trigger. He closes his eyes and remembers their dialogue with Fox a day earlier. He asked her how it was possible to take someone's life by order of some fabric. Fox then told him the story of a little girl whose father was a judge who was principled and incorruptible. At one point, he was handling a case involving a high-profile criminal. The defendant wanted some other judge and sent a killer named Max Petrick to his house. This killer burned his victims alive and forced their relatives to watch it, after which he carved his initials on their bodies so that they would never forget this nightmare. When Fox joined the fraternity, she found out that the loom revealed Max Petrick's name a few days before the murder of the judge, and one of the members had failed to pull the trigger. That is why the fraternity's motto is kill one and save 1,000. After telling this story, Fox left, and Wesley saw Max Petrick's initials on her neck. Wesley opens his eyes and decides to kill the businessman by firing a curved bullet. He gets one mission after another, and each time he hopes that Cross's name will come up. On a new mission, he can't kill a businessman on his own while the target is moving in an armored limousine. Then Fox helps him by setting up her sports car as a springboard. By making a somersault above the limousine, Wesley manages to shoot the target through the open sunroof. After the mission, they go to Wesley's house to grab the gun hidden in the toilet. It seems like his friend Barry now lives in his apartment with Wesley's girlfriend. Wesley knocks out Barry and heads straight to the toilet while his girlfriend slings muck at him. Fox gets tired of hearing her screaming and decides to improve the status of Wesley in the eyes of his ex before leaving. Wesley is waiting for Fox to get the car when suddenly Cross shoots at him and then disappears. Wesley gives chase, shooting at Cross, but Cross manages to repel Wesley's shot with his bullet. The chase after Cross continues, with other members of the fraternity joining. At an abandoned building site, Wesley accidentally shoots Exterminator. While he stands shocked by his mistake, Cross shoots a curved bullet from around the corner, hitting Wesley in the shoulder. Wesley wakes up in the recovery room. He sees how they are trying to save the Russian but fail, and the Exterminator dies. Luckily, the bullet removed from his shoulder is the first one that can be traced. It was made by Pequarski, who works at a monastery in eastern Arabia. The fraternity realizes that this is a specially prepared trap, and they don't want him to go alone. But Wesley manages to convince them that he's ready. Finally, Sloan gives him the canvas with Cross's name on it. As Wesley departs, Sloan hands over the canvas bearing Wesley's name to Fox, instructing her to execute him once he is finished with Cross. Wesley arrives at the monastery and finds Pequarski, who then runs away. Wesley chases after him but is soon held at gunpoint until Fox arrives to save him. Wesley demands to know where Cross is, so the man agrees to set up a meeting. The man brings them to a train platform where they wait in secret for Cross to show up, but the man runs away. The two give chase when Wesley senses Cross on the train and goes after him alone. Only to find out it was a trap, Cross ambushes him, but Fox manages to catch up with the high-speed train in her rusty car, which is apparently tuned, and opens fire on Cross. A shootout breaks out in the train, while Cross only repels bullets fired at him. Fox's hoop tie rams the train, after which the train derails and hangs on the bridge. Wesley almost fell into the abyss, but Cross managed to grab him. Wesley, however, shoots him, and the train falls into the deep gorge, getting stuck between the cliffs. Wesley has survived and is ready to finish off Cross when he tells him that everything they told him was a lie. He reveals that Wesley is his son but dies before he can reveal more. Shocked and confused, he turns to see Fox there, who confirms that Cross is telling the truth. She then shoots the glass beneath them, and Wesley falls into the water with his father. Wesley wakes up inside a recovery bath in an apartment right across from his old one. The old man from Moravia reveals that Cross was always watching over him, and Wesley sees pictures of him as a child around the room. The man reveals that when Cross left the fraternity, Sloan began hunting down Wesley, and Cross was constantly trying to rescue him from them. Wesley is racked with guilt and swears his revenge. The man hands him a cloth and reveals that Sloan began putting his own names into the cloths a few years ago for profit, which is why Cross left. Once Wesley deciphers the cloth handed to him, he realizes that Sloan's name came up in the cloth years ago. He goes to his father's closet, puts on his jacket, and finds a door to a secret room packed with weapons and other gadgets. Fox returns to the fraternity, confirming that Wesley is dead. Wesley stumbles upon the fraternity layout and plans for an attack using rats with bombs strapped to them. Wesley turns up to the fraternity and rams the gates using a garbage truck. He then releases the rats, which begin to spread throughout the compound. A massive explosion rocks the building, and Wesley charges in, guns blazing. He begins to speedrun the scene, taking out several men. After the fight, Wesley goes looking for Sloane but encounters the butcher, who begins to attack him with knives and even deflects them. He slices Wesley up but fails to finish him off and gets killed. Wesley then begins to scream for Sloane when he is surrounded by assassins, including Fox. He reveals the kill order that includes Sloane's name and explains how Sloane exploited the fraternity for his own benefit. Fox asks Sloane to confirm this, but then Sloane reveals that each of their names came up in kill orders, and he saved them. He gives them the choice to join him and kill Wesley or take their own lives if they value the code. The others plan to kill Wesley, but Fox fires a shot that goes around the room, killing everyone, including herself. Wesley wastes no time and goes looking for Sloane, who has already disappeared. A few weeks later, a man looking like Wesley is seen working in the office when Sloane comes up behind him. Turns out, Sloane is caught in a trap and is killed like Mr. X, from a bullet that traveled miles, fired by Wesley. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this.